Over the last notes for Act 5's Part 2, and actually the last notes for the entire play, because now we are done. So in Act 5, Scene 1, Macbeth is stomping around and preparing to go to war and feeling invincible and everything. Act 5, Scene 5, that's where we're starting, sorry. He hears these women scream from off stage, and this kind of gives him a start. And he reflects on this a little bit after he hears the scream. He says, "I have almost forgot the taste of fears." I have almost forgot the taste of fears, meaning I really haven't felt fear or any real human emotion in a long time. I have supped full with horrors, direness familiar to my slaughterous thoughts cannot once start me. I have dined with dreadful, tremendously horrible, terrible, unspeakable sins and crimes and murders, and now I can't really feel emotion in the same way that I used to. An intense thought that shows us how much Macbeth has transformed from the beginning of the play, and just how monstrous he really is at the end of the play, right? He is so headstrong, so confident, so treacherous, somebody you really wouldn't want to cross. Why are the women actually screaming? Well, Lady Macbeth is found dead. Now, there are some theories on this. In fact, Shakespeare doesn't necessarily make it clear for us. If you flipped to... This is a question everyone always asks, and people will give you different answers. I don't think any is correct. I think both are equally correct. Sometimes people say she dies of lack of sleep. And then if you look at page 191, there is a parenthetical line that says, so on page 191, the very last line in the entire show, Malcolm's little speech, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life, meaning that by some way, Lady Macbeth killed herself at the end of the play. So there's not really, sometimes people will say lack of sleep. Sometimes people will say she killed herself. There's kind of flexible space for interpretation. It's possible that the people in the play don't even know. But the important thing is not how she died, but that she is dead, and that Macbeth says this after she dies, right? Macbeth realizes she should have died hereafter, and then he launches into the most famous speech in the play, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. He talks about how he feels like life is just this series of endless tomorrows that all have hollow meaning and form a march towards death. Very depressing. The life is a brief candle. He is like an actor on a stage that is strutting and fretting for an hour, and then the tale is nothing. It is pointless sound and fury. It is just noise and anger and rage directed at nothing, because nothing means anything, and everyone will die. This is a very depressing speech, and I think I usually interpret it as not that Shakespeare thinks life is really like this. In fact, most of his plays have some kind of happy meaning in them somewhere, even this play, and we'll get to that at the end of the scene 8. I think it's Shakespeare saying, if you live your life without caring about other people, if you live your life like Macbeth does, and you don't care about other people, and you work actively to harm them, you will find that there is hollow meaning in that, right? What did Macbeth have to live for? Well, he didn't have anyone to care for. He didn't love Lady Macbeth in the way that we would normally think a romantic relationship would be. He didn't have any friends, after all. I mean, he killed his best friend. So that, of course, is going to lead you to feeling like life is a series of endless tomorrows. He had nothing to live for. He didn't give anything, so he doesn't get anything in return. Okay, 6. Very basic. In scene 6, the army comes. They throw down their leafy branches. They stop pretending to be the Burnham Wood, essentially, and they launch their attack on Dunsinane. It's decided that Malcolm will take charge of the soldiers, kind of storming the castle, but young Seward and Macduff are going to go into the castle and try to find Macbeth himself. So in scenes 7 and 8, I combine them at the end because they're so short, especially scene 7. Macbeth kills young Seward. Had he his hurts before, is Seward asking if his son had died a noble death. When he finds out that he died fighting the tyrant, he feels his death is not in vain. Macbeth is killed by Macduff, who beheads him, and then Malcolm becomes the new king and restores the order of Scotland. Things are back to the way that belong.